I've been self-employed for almost 5 years now, and every single penny that I've used to live on, I've had to earn. Like, nobody's given me a paycheck to live off of. But over that time period, I've tried out a lot of businesses to try to make more money. And through those businesses, a lot were successful. I'm still doing to this day, but a lot of them, probably a lot more, were absolute dumpster fire. So if you're in business, or if you're new to business and looking to get started being self-employed, take some notes, because in this video, I'm going to be going over every single business that I failed at, that I lost money on, how much money I lost, businesses that I don't think you should start, lessons learned, and a bunch of other stuff. I'm going to be pretty transparent in this video, probably more transparent than most people would be, because this is kind of like a sensitive topic. You know, money lost is like, people don't like to talk about that because they want to talk about money gained. You know what I mean? I hope you can learn something and take something away from this. The first business that I ever started and saw like real traction with was real estate wholesaling and real estate flipping, which I started in 2020. Now, after my first full year doing real estate, I started actually making money. A year prior to this, I was on unemployment living with my mom, and now, you know, I'm seeing a good amount of money in my bank account, which was like kind of crazy. But I learned through podcasts that a good way of making money on your money was to lend out your money. So the second business I started was a money lending business. I would lend people money for a short period of time. They would pay me interest every month on the money that I gave them. They would pay me that money back with like additional fees. So you could probably imagine how a business like this could go wrong. But what happened was, a longtime friend up to that point was doing a big real estate project, and they were raising money so they could build this big house, and they needed the money. I didn't properly vet the deal because I trusted this person. I knew this person for a long period of time. I didn't think that I would ever not be able to trust this person. So I lent them $50,000 from my hard-earned money for my first full year being self-employed. And it was supposed to be just for 3 months. They borrowed money from a lot of other people too, which made the project seem more credible. So in total, if I had to estimate, I would assume they raised between $200,000 and $300,000. And since I knew this person for a long period of time, they sent me a simple 1-page agreement with everything that was laid out with what we agreed on. So like the money that I was paying them, the amount that they would pay me every month, and the amount that they would pay me at the end. We both signed it, and that was it. And it's been 4 years since I've lent them the money and signed that contract, and I've not seen one single dollar. So I've mentally written this off. It is what it is now. It was a learning lesson. It sucks. You know, I wish I had that money. Every once in a while, the person that borrowed the money from me texts me saying that they're getting extended and that they'll pay me eventually. I don't even think this was a real project. I don't think anybody got paid back their money. The learning lesson with this deal is that if you're lending money, even to a friend or family member, you have to treat it like a business, not a favor, and get everything in writing and secure collateral. The next business I did was my third business. Spoiler, I lost about $20,000 in this third business, where I lost $50,000 in the second business, the lending business. But I regret doing this third business more than that second business, because just looking back, there's so many red flags. So this business was a done-for-you Amazon e-com store. You probably seen, if you were on social media in like 2021 to 2023, a lot of gurus were talking about these back then and pushing them, where basically the business model was you pay them an upfront fee and then you split all the profits. They have a whole team that runs your Amazon e-com store. They handle all the products, they handle all the fulfillment, they handle all the inventory, they handle everything. And they usually take about 20 to 40% of the profits. And then usually the average that you pay them is between 10 and I've seen upwards to 40,000. So in my case, I gave them a $15,000 upfront fee. And then I think my profit split was like 30 to 40%. I don't remember exactly what it was. I actually don't even want to look to remember. Like, I don't want to know any details about this. And then when you're talking to them about this and you have the sales call and they're posting on their stories about it, you're seeing these stores bring in $20,000 gross a month or $15,000 gross a month. And I'm doing the math in my head. I'm like, wow, so if I have this store for like 6 months, even with this profit split, I would have made back my 15K. And then after like the 6, 7, 8 month mark, I would have exceeded my 15K in pure profit at that point. That was my mindset. Looking back, they were just catering their stores to showing their personal stores or stores that are like the outliers, where most of the stores didn't do that. I think the saddest part about this story was the people that were selling these were pretty known in like the real estate atmosphere. And the guy that I bought my store from, like, I actually learned a lot about business from him prior. So that's why I just had like this like unwavering trust in him, where it was like, okay, I trust this guy. You know, I think he knows what he's doing. I learned a lot from him. That's the saddest part, is because that guy lost all credibility in my head. And every single person that ever sold an e-com store would never buy a product from them just because they sold these stores. To my knowledge, I think every single person that bought one of these stores got scammed. And I think people are even starting to go to prison and get arrested because of these stores. But what went wrong is it turns out that these people have no idea how to run a store. They had a lot of employees employees that were managing the stores, but they had really bad leadership. So these people were quitting. So my Amazon store always had like a new person that was supposed to be running the store. They weren't doing a good job. They would get fired. A new person would come in, and like in a 1 week span, I would have like 4 new people, which like it was just crazy. Like the retainment rate is insane. And the first month, I think I made like $100, and they were like, oh, don't worry about it. The first month is always slow. Second month, $100. Third month, $50, $60. Like it was just nothing ever exceeded $200. And then after the profit split, I'm netting $40, $50. You know, it's like, this is horrible. Like, what is this? And about 6 months in, Amazon knocked out my e-com store. So I no longer had my e-com store. They never paid me back my money, just lost a ton of money, just vanished. So in total, I lost about $20,000-ish, maybe even more than that. Looking back, I don't know how I fell for this business. Textbook, too good to be true. And that's the lesson of this one. Business number 2 failure is if it's too good to be true, then it's probably too good to be true. And I recommend just doing businesses that you can directly control, because this one, I had no control over everything. I was just trusting these people to do it. And while we're on the topic of losing money in business, there's one thing that's helped me make more money, and it's these Magic Mind shot drinks, which I usually drink in the morning. They're a productivity shot. They have a lot of good ingredients, and they help me stay focused on making money in my businesses and not losing money. If you're someone like me with undiagnosed ADHD, this might help. This is what the box looks like. I also have a bunch of empty bottles around my desk space, which I probably need to throw away. I drink these daily, usually in the morning. They taste and feel healthy, and I usually feel instant clarity. Like it just clicks and I feel good afterwards. They also have these amazing night shot ones, which you drink before you go to bed. And these ones, like low key, are actually like crazy. I have a lot of sleep issues. I usually don't fall asleep until midnight. But if I take one of these guys and then go to bed, I usually knock out within 30 minutes of getting to bed, which is pretty impressive because I'm the kind of guy that lay there for like 2 hours just like doing nothing. But yeah, highly recommend these. Check out the description in the comment below. There's a discount link there too, and you could try them out and see if they work for you. The next business I lost money in is actually real estate. And although real estate is the business I made the most money in by far, I've also lost a lot of money and I made mistakes in a lot of deals. I'm going to be talking about 2 main deals in particular that I lost money on. I was getting ready to buy or flip them, and what happened was in that contract period, something went wrong during the inspection. I had issues with my loan to buy the property. I needed a 6-day extension. The seller refused to sign the extension, said you have to close on the closing day or you're not going to close. Wasn't able to close. He canceled the deal. In total, I lost $5K on each of those deals, so $10K in total. On top of that, I've also missed out on a lot of real estate deals that, looking back, I probably could have made money on, or I missed out on because I sent an offer for like $200,000 and another buyer comes in out of nowhere, sends an offer for $205,000. They get the deal and then they resell it or something. And I could have got the deal if I just offered a little bit more. So it's tough looking back on those ones, but it is what it is. Learning lessons are make sure you run your numbers, make sure that you're serious on your timelines. Don't expect people to accommodate your timelines. Don't expect sellers or buyers to extend contracts so they meet what you're looking for, because the reality is, although you might have rapport, although you might be friendly with those people, they could easily next day turn around and be like, no, screw that guy. I don't want to extend anymore. And then you're just left out on the street. So that's what happened to me. The next business I lost money in was actually a real estate flip that I did. And I consider every single fix and flip its own business. What happened was I found a seller that wanted to sell a huge mansion. It was like 4,000 square feet. Is huge, a very desirable part of Miami. The seller wanted $550,000 for the house. It was worth upwards to $1.2 million. So I had a huge spread on it. It was a really good, juicy deal. So I got it under contract at the mid 500s. I was going to send it out to some buyers and just resell the contract because I had no idea how to fix and flip, especially fix and flip like a luxury house like this. And one of the buyers came back to me, is super interested. And he said, hey, instead of you selling us the contract and we buy the contract and fix it up, how about we partner on the deal where we don't pay you anything to buy the contract, you still sell us the contract, and it will include you in on the flip, and we'll split the flip profits 50-50, and we'll handle everything. You won't do anything. So from my perspective, I had this buyer that was an experienced fix and flipper saying, hey, instead of us paying you up front, we'll pay you on the back end and give you potentially more money once we flip it and do really well. So it seemed like a no-brainer to me. And I was like, yeah, like after thinking about it, like, yeah, let's do it. You know, like, why not? So from the purchase date, we had a 6-month timeline on being done with the house. Well, 6 months later, the house barely had any progress. They were having a lot of turnover. over with contractors, a lot of bad accountability. It was originally a 6-month timeline turned into a 12-month timeline, so a year to fix up this house, and then a 12-month timeline turned into an 18-month timeline. So it took 18 months from the purchase date to finally being done with the house, which is insane because originally it's supposed to be 6 months. And what happens when you buy a house or a fix and flip is you have to get a mortgage to help you with the purchase. And our mortgage was about $800,000. And typically if you get a mortgage for a short term period loan, it's a higher interest. So we had a 12% interest loan. So our monthly payment was like 6K a month. You have to pay that every single month for 18 months. So those are called holding costs, and they just burn this deal. It was like just a ticking time bomb of every month 6K. And it was just destroying their pockets. So they came to me towards the end and they're like, yo, Alec, can you help us pay for these holding costs or we're literally going to foreclose? So I originally was not supposed to put a dime or effort into this house, but because they didn't know what they were doing, I had to start paying the mortgage. So I paid the mortgage for 1 month, then 2 months, then 3 months, and 4 months, and 5 months. I don't even know how many months I paid the mortgage, but they couldn't afford to pay the mortgage anymore. So I had to step in and pay it from my personal money. And the timelines kept getting dragged and work wasn't being done, where I would go to the house on like a Monday and I would meet the partners there with the contractors on the Monday. And then I would go to the house in a week and nothing changed. And I'll call them. I'll be like, bro, nothing's changed. And they'll be like, oh, the contractor wasn't there. And I'm like, you're not monitoring them? Like, how is this possible? Then we finally listed it, and I thought it was done after that point. And immediately when we listed it, we had buyers touring the house, but every single buyer after touring it immediately was not interested because the work was so poorly done, where they would get inspections on the house and be like, yo, this work is horribly done. They didn't get permits. They didn't do anything correctly. So it took another 4 months to sell the house. That house burned a hole in our pockets. I trusted the wrong people to do that. Looking back, I should have just sold them the contract, made some quick money, and just let them screw around and mess up with that. I think in total, we lost upwards to $70,000 on that deal. And the biggest lesson with that is don't trust people, trust but verify. And if it's too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true. So yeah, this one sucked. So you may notice the lighting is different. That's because there was a few hour gap between the last point and this point. I had took a bunch of phone calls and had to do some stuff, but we're back. So the next business is my content agency. It was a 1.5 year business that I built, and it was actually a profitable business that I gave away to my business partner because I consider this business to be my financial distraction, where I had a good thing going for me in real estate and I tried to do another business because I thought, why not? Like, I'll have 2 businesses, and next thing you know, I'm doing like 50% in both. And real estate was what was keeping me afloat, where the content agency was just breaking even. What we did is we helped script, edit, record, and post usually short form videos for people in the real estate field. And yeah, I mean, it was fun. I've made a lot of connections. I built a network from it. Do I regret doing this business? A little bit, because if I stick to doing real estate, I could have scaled my real estate a lot further and made a lot more money. But it was interesting. And at least I know that I did this business instead of like regretting or thinking about it, being like, what happened if I did that business? How much more successful would I have been? My biggest lesson is focus is everything. And if you have a business that's working, don't get shiny object syndrome and move to another business. And the final thing that I've lost money on that we're going to cover is bad mentorships. And I've invested in the last 5 years, probably upwards to $40,000 or more in mentorship. And I would say over half of them have been absolute garbage, terrible mentorships, waste of time, waste of money, everything. I regret doing a bunch of them. And it's just like funny seeing that because they promise so much and then you enter them and you're like, wow, this is horrible. I actually even invested into a mentorship for the content agency because there was a guy that was always saying he was doing 80K a month. And I'm like, oh, wow, I could do 80K a month this business. And I invested into that. And I realized that he did 1 month that was 80K and the rest of the months weren't that much. And he had no business at all. This is also the reason that I've never hosted or had my own mentorship, is because I didn't want to have a mentorship and it be bad. And I was always so busy and overwhelmed. I never felt I could put all of my energy into one. And I didn't want to be known as that guy that was like, oh, I paid Alec blank money and his mentorship sucked, because you could hear that about pretty much every guru. I would assume I've lost upwards to 20K, could be more than that. I don't even want to know, to be honest. And yeah, I mean, it is what it is. And that's why I'm more skeptical with mentorships I do invest in nowadays. So the biggest lesson with that is not all mentors are created equal, and there's a lot of free resources online. So you technically don't need to invest in anything. But yeah, that's the video. I hope this provides some value and helped in some way. At least you could see, you know, what I've been through. And I think this is over 6 figures in losses. So that's pretty crazy. Don't want to think about that. Like I'm going to mentally forget that. But yeah, let me know in the comments if you've been through anything similar with any of these situations. And yeah, thanks for watching.